Yeah. Y'all know what it is. Welcome out once again to the Remix Morning Show, that boom back breakfast right here on Black Power Media. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, your host for the day, Kalanji Jamachanga, and also Kamal K. Franklin. Let's go.
Rewind selector.
What up? Or also known as the R, the E, the N, the E, the G, the A, the D, the E is Renegade. Remix, Renegade culture. Yes. You know
Good
what I'm
morning.
saying? Like that.
Shout out to all our renegades. It's a takeover this morning.
Yeah.
We appreciate you stopping through. I know you didn't want it like this, but we know that folks is out getting their gifts. Gifts.
Plural.
I mean, they doing that because they know this. It's the holiday season.
True.
You know what I mean? There's some folks out there still doing that. You know what I mean? So shout out to them. We ain't dissing nobody. You know what I mean? Good morning. How's everybody doing out there?
Morning. Doing good. You just my teacher. I just dropped my kids off, and the lady outside who takes the kids from the car and shuffles them in. You know, she's like dancing and chilling, and she's like, "Woo woo." A week left, woo woo. And I was like, "A week left for what?" She's like, "The holiday." I was like, "Again." They get a more time off.
Always a holiday, right?
It's like you got to spend time with your kids again.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Listen. I'm looking forward to it. But really,
there is that brief time. I'm sorry. There's that brief time period when they just jump out the car and you're like right alone in the car, and it's like this.
That peace.
Peace
and serenity.
It washes all over you, like Then life begins again. But just like that 10 seconds. You get that 10
cat
seconds.
right here. What's up with your man's Ear Doctor?
Hey man, he got a point, man. You know, sometimes you just need that breather.
Hey, Jamal might be opening.
I do co-parenting, so I get a little breather. I don't get one like,
I thought you was going to just say I do cocaine, so I get a little breather. I was like, what?
I thought he was saying that. I thought he was saying that, but I was like,
nah,
he didn't say that.
Never did it.
Yeah. Oh Lord, it's crazy because of the fact that I was talking to these folks yesterday, and they was trying to tell me about the whole season and the feeling and all of that, and I'm like, man, that's really great. And I remember there was a time when folks was in the spirit of things, you know what I'm saying, regardless of what it was for, whatever, it was a different type of energy. But I don't know, it seems a little different these days.
It's because we old.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Plus cats a little more violent too. You know what I'm saying?
They were violent in the 80s and 90s and shit.
You got a point there.
People were getting cut up.
Hey,
they violent in Buckhead.
You can stay home now, order everything on Amazon. You ain't got to go out in the streets and this, that, and
man, listen. Different. Speaking of Amazon, that whole thing with the tornado, we gotta get into that a little bit later.
Yeah,
on
no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Doubt. So with their criminal activities. But I wanted to say today is a beautiful Tuesday. What is this? December 14th?
Yep.
Yeah. It's gonna be a great thing and whatnot. It's wild because of the fact that I expected to see so many of our hosts on this morning. I come on and I feel like it's a flashback to last year or something, man. What's going on with that? Do we need to take over?
You said, they got like little breaks. They got to do this. Somebody got to run and do that. Somebody got an appointment. That's what happens when you don't get paid to do the work that we do. Remixers, Patreon. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
Colder than the white man. Yes.
Let's get
shout out.
People got money. People got money to go buy presents. I see.
That's what it is.
While my kids are walking around here and flip flop
with coals in their stocking.
Kamal's one of the reasons why, if there's a socialist ran situation, he cannot be in control, or it's gonna be a problem. Just trying to tell y'all that now.
I believe in the Che method, some conscription. I believe in the Che Guevara method. There'd be some conscripted work. Get out to them sugar fields.
Man, look here,
we got a quota to make. Get the doctors, the lawyers, the professionals. Everybody can catch it. Everybody got to put a little work.
Hey,
get their hands dirty.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta build in the field. You know what I mean? Gotta build in the field. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but Yeah, I was like, I posted yesterday because of the fact that I heard some folks caroling and whatnot, and I'm like, man, folks forget about the songwriter of that song Jingle Bells. You know what I'm saying? You all know about that guy? I mean,
I
this
saw your
cat
post,
was,
I think.
yeah, man. So he was JP Morgan's nephew, right? James Pointer, and he was this cat right here used to write little racist ditties and medleys and whatnot and minstrel pieces, and was a Confederate worker, Confederate soldier. And it's like all of a sudden people are praising him like he's just this great, songwriter and whatnot. But yeah, I'm sorry, he was JP Morgan's uncle. You know what I mean? So he comes from a long line of capitalism and whatnot. But it's just ill how we're indoctrinated and we don't even look into certain things or whatever. We're quick to dissect hip hop lyrics and all of that. But whatever they told you to sing in school, whatever they told you to celebrate, you said, okay, cool, let's go with that. You know what I mean? So
but just, they gave us the radio. They gave us the radio edit by the time we got to school. You know
definitely.
They took out some of the minstrel part. But that, I mean, yeah, you're right. That's all American history, ain't it? It's like if you
without a doubt
pick up that rock, we pick up that rock, all you're going to see is the remnants of white supremacy and capitalist enslavement and all the rest of it. And it's like, and over time they done shined it up for us and been like, well, we like that beat, so we're gonna give it to you this way. We're gonna give it to you this way now. And you're gonna keep singing it.
Right. But and then when you mention it, it's like, well, man, you all always complaining and this and that, whatever. Yeah, you want to be the Grinch.
I ain't gonna front, yo. Christmas got the best songs, yo. I mean, we talking about some of the best Motown songs came. Christmas got some of the best songs.
Y'all remember wait a minute though. You remember the flip, the Jingle Bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg.
Yeah.
The Joker stole the Batmobile and the Penguin got away. Something like that.
And it's the first time coming to this show.
That's the version I told my kids, actually.
I'm gonna say it's usually not like
this. And it started Caleb on 2 years of fart jokes.
2 years. Start on him. He's already ready.
He's got 2 years worth of fart jokes. From 4 to now, he's got, ever since I told him that song, there's been nothing but fart jokes coming out of it.
Oh man.
Yo, he talking about when Adam West was Batman, boy. He took it back.
That's the Batman I know.
I mean, that was Batman. That was only Batman back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Anyway,
him and Burt Ward.
Oh man, can't say. But hey, wait, hold on. Ear Doctor can mess every African name you could think of, but he know Adam West and Burt Ward.
He did. Anyway, right? Those are very important cultural icons growing up in the 70s.
Hey, those are layman names,
Oh, okay.
I could get those right.
Okay, good job.
They ain't got no energy behind them.
None at all. Look at the Ear Doctor coming with it early this morning.
You know what I'm saying, man.
Welcome to the Remix Morning Show. Welcome to Black Power Media. If it's your first time stopping through, please subscribe to Black Power Media on YouTube or whatever particular platform you're checking us out on. We are definitely on audio as well now. We got the podcast popping on a number of different wherever you check out your favorite podcasts. You can check out all the dope stuff that we're pushing out here. We appreciate you all coming out here with your with the love. Shout out to my man Professor Griff. I see him in the chat. He said Kamal is on some Luther Vandross.
Griff is in the chat. Griff.
He said you on some Luther Vandross lyrics.
Griff, you owe me a call. I'm trying to get down with that PE reunion, son. What's going on? Anyway, I think I should have always been down. I should have been down.
Anyway, something bad wrong with the water this morning. We're gonna make sure that somebody drowned in it. There's a lot going on, a lot of news we're gonna be talking about today. I heard last week we was talking about what's the little white boy in school that shot up the school?
What? Rittenhouse?
Not Rittenhouse.
No. Rittenhouse shot up a rally. There's so many white boys shooting things up. You gotta get the
these white boys shooting up everything, man. Shit.
Yeah.
You talk about the one with the parents who got charged, right? I don't know his name, but that's
yes. Well, I just wanted to say the principal at LeBron School, if that kid was going to LeBron School, the I Promise School, it probably wouldn't have happened. We're going to talk about that story in a little while. The principal was said to have slapped an 11-year-old and then called the mother and told him that she slapped him for cursing or whatever. So, that's a whole nother program. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later on.
She took it back.
I know.
Say it again.
No, too far back.
I
No,
mean,
too far back for me.
Yeah, no, she did take it back.
Yo, so come out. You never gave permission to teachers like, yo, if they act up in school.
We don't live in that world right now. We don't live in that world.
My parents
ain't no black. First of all, ain't no black teachers. So in the school, like there's like 2 black teachers we got. So ain't no we don't live in that world right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway,
40 years removed.
Yeah. Well, anyway, y'all just blew my whole shit real quick with that one. But anyway, it's a lot going on. I heard y'all man Jussie Smollett got indicted, or he's
indicted,
being charged.
No.
Convicted.
You got another indictment or something?
Nah, convicted. My bad. I was tripping on that. But I'm wondering, man. It's some weird shit because of the fact that it's like, wow, they went to extreme lengths. What's behind all that? You know what I'm saying? What's the deal?
They go to extreme lengths. They gave him a plea deal, and that fool refused the plea deal and took it to trial.
I don't know, man.
They gave him a plea deal. Signed, sealed, and delivered. All he had to do was like a week of community service at best and some fine.
See, I missed the plea deal thing, man. So
no. He thought his light skin or his celebrity or his singing, I don't know what he thought was going to make him go to trial with that bad group of evidence that he got against him. And of course he blew trial. Any fool could see he was going to blow trial except for him, which is why he staged the whole thing in the first place, because he's a fool.
Hey, I mean, Dave Chappelle tried to tell y'all he was lying.
Juicy will bring up Juicy.
He tried to tell y'all. Juicy
was lying.
Yo, man.
By that time, everybody knew Juicy was lying.
But my thing is, like, I mean, for you to even come up with some cockamamie shit like that, it's like, dude, clearly mentally ill or something, man. It's like, yo, no. Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
He needs some support.
All right. So, dude,
he's definitely somebody who's caught up in that bubble of like, he wants to be famous at all cost, and he got written off the show, and so his next career move apparently was to become a racial martyr and have people adore him because he got racially attacked.
Word.
Who thinks that's a career move? I mean, that's the world we live in. That's a career move for dude. So he sat down and obviously thought about this over and over again, worked out deep. Let me see, I need a rope. Let me see, where will I? Okay, I'm gonna get me a Subway sandwich at 3:00 in the morning. Okay, I need them to write scrawl. Nigga on my chest. I want to play. Oh, okay, I got the plan down. He literally had to do that for several weeks in his head, and at no point did he
wrote that out. You think he thought that out?
I know he wrote it out. I just feel like he had to think that through, and at no point did he go like, "This is fucking stupid." You know what I mean?
That level is
like, I'm gonna win an Oscar for this.
Exactly.
He gonna get an Oscar with whoever he locked up with.
That's he gonna get an Oscar in himself.
Anyway, sorry about that, y'all. We gonna go to the ear doctor real quick because I got to catch up after this one.
Let's
check that.
Let's start this week off with the weather report, y'all. Let's get it.
All right,
let's go. Remix Morning Show.
Yeah. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Y'all tuned in. So make sure while y'all are tuned in, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and tell a friend it's on again every Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on the Remix Morning Show. Yo, let me tell y'all. Also, go to patreon.com, drop some change in the bucket. Big up to all the people that tuned in Sunday and checked me out Sundays. We did the common mix and played all types of common music. Big up to all y'all that came in, checked in. It was a dope show. Now, let's get to the weather report. Now, where shall we start off today? Let's go to somewhere we probably never been before. Let's take it to Eureka, Montana. Eureka, Montana has a high today of 35 degrees. That's right. Big up to Eureka. Next, let's take it over to Bangor, Maine. We're going up top to the east side. Bangor, Maine. They got a high of 37 degrees. Next, let's take it down to Leon, Nicaragua. That's right. We're going down to the island parts down there. So Leon, Nicaragua, they got a high of 93 degrees today. Ooh, I wish I was there for that. And now let's take it over to the motherland. Let's go to Dori, Burkina Faso. They got a high today at 97 degrees. Very nice over there. Wish I could go over there. Now let's take it over to another part called Duran, Nepal. They got a high today of 66 degrees. And it's really nowhere that's super, super, super cold. Last thing, I'm not even gonna say it's cold as the white man, but the last place I'm gonna say is Dawson Springs, Kentucky. They got a high today of 60 degrees. Why I say Dawson Springs, Kentucky? Because they had the big tornadoes and stuff coming through, and about 74 people are confirmed dead, and 109 people are unaccounted for right now, as a series of those tornadoes are coming through and doing their thing from Friday night into Saturday morning. So we sending healing energy out to all those in Kentucky. Hopefully get everything right. And now let's take it back to the Remix Morning Show. You know how we do. I believe I got all those names right. You can.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Not that bad. I did a little study and made sure I got the names right and everything.
You studied.
Yeah.
It's called that studying. All right.
Word. So that's what it is. You ever been to any of those places I mentioned?
No, I doubt it. It. It's too cold.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
don't travel as much as I used to. You know what I mean? Like, you do the family travel. Mm-hmm. Not that any of those places were adventurous travel. I was talking to somebody about my 6 trips to Cuba, but I was like, now when I think about it, I took those off. It's been such a long time since I've been there. And then like Palestine and other places or whatever for political trips and stuff. Don't get to do that kind of stuff as much no more.
Yeah, they got Nicaragua. How far is that from Cuba?
Well, Nicaragua, I'm not sure the distance, but that's obviously in Central America. So, it ain't that far.
Okay.
Yeah, it ain't that far.
Burkina Faso is the place I never thought, say, you know what, I want to go to Burkina Faso. Speaking of going to Africa, I'm hearing in Ghana right now, you got to get the shot as soon as you get touchdown in Ghana. I don't know. That's what I'm hearing.
Y'all can't go then. Y'all can't go.
I can't make it.
There's certain places y'all shouldn't even. Y'all just like cross off your travel map for a few more years.
I might go to Ghana today, but anyway, shout out to Thomas Sankara. You know what I'm saying? Burkina Faso. Speaking of Burkina Faso, and speaking of Africa, we have a piece today. Riot Started TV, 4 p.m. We have some folks who are survivors of the Rwandan genocide. Some young folks. Who went through it and will be reporting on what's going on over there now, because of the fact that many folks saw a lot of folks was turned on to what was going on in regards to the genocide who weren't involved in politics back in like 2004 with the joint with Hotel Rwanda and Don Cheadle. That was their first introduction. But you're going to get the real deal about what went on and how some of these folks were forced to dig their own graves, including one of the folks who are that will be on at 4 p.m. today on Black Power Media. So make sure you check that out.
Hey, I'm gonna go find somebody that knows something about Africa. Oh, there she go.
Surprise.
Oh, there she go. Let me get out of here and let the professionals do their thing.
What's happening, Tierney? Thank you for saving the ear doctor.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good with my son today, so hopefully not too much background noise.
Holla.
It's all good.
How old is
I'm sure he won't.
He is 2 years old.
What's happening, man? He looking like, man, I don't even know why I'm here with you folks. What's happening? Y'all looking like too. You look like y'all Siamese twins. Like you just got the small head.
I feel like a Star is born. Yeah, this is a perfect little commercial.
There we go.
A commercial. I mean, up in his nose.
Look,
other than that,
yeah, he said, "Yo, take a look at this."
Exactly.
He said, "This is what I think about your camera."
Cute.
No doubt, no doubt. Shout out to him. What's his name? The co-host?
His name is, and y'all not gonna get it right the first time because no one does. Nkunim.
Nkunim.
Oh, okay, my bad.
What kind of Africans you think we are? You know, get this woman off the screen.
I gotta celebrate
all the time. They be like, what?
Oh yeah, we African over here. You know,
right.
I got lucky. I'll be real.
Kamal just said it under me. He was like, anyway, welcome Nkunim to the Remix Morning Show. You know what I mean? And the ear doctor with his news. Speaking of news, we're gonna spin off real quick. We're gonna slap the map and come back with some things that's going on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
Cool.
Remix Morning Show. What's good, man? Everybody all right?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Kaboom. Just in time for the news. It must be ladies' night. They just showed up at the same time.
Oh, the baby. Hey, Tierney and the baby.
Hello.
That's
hey, y'all. Hey, the two of you. Hey, baby.
Mm-hmm, yeah. See, you're proud. I really am surprised. Seriously. Other Africans be like, what?
No. All the babies, because they're not coming out of me. So
Jackie's gonna be the official BPM godmother. Everybody drop their children off at Jackie house, including the remixes. So good.
Yep. And then I'll give your babies back. They're spoiled. Can't do anything with them.
The candy, ice cream.
That's right. Pecan pie.
All the stuff they're not supposed to have. Pecan pie?
Yes.
Popcorn.
Hold on, man. Who said that right there?
Popcorn.
Please don't let the doctor try to pronounce his name. Anyway, something bad wrong with y'all out there in the chat. What's going on news-wise, man? I know you wonderful people got some good news to spread to the people because of the fact that here at BPM on the Remix Morning Show, we have nothing but great news. Is that factual or is that exaggerated?
Define great? I guess.
News.
I mean,
so sometimes it's the blues.
Yeah,
I complain you need to talk about things that are solutions and not the problems. But it's hard sometimes because the problems are too many.
Yeah, it is very, very hard, especially when you don't know what the government is doing, and then you find out what they're doing, and it's like, okay, this is the best you got.
Wow.
So I'm sure people didn't realize, because I didn't even know they were doing this, that the FBI has apparently been trying out this pilot program, I guess. Well, it's not a pilot anymore. They implemented this project. And I think it came from the Comey era, where they now are they may have to shut down their police use of force database due to lack of police participation. Now, I know that most people did not know that the FBI actually had a database that they were using to track police use of force, excessive force across the country. And they do, or at least they did, they haven't shut the program down yet. But the issue is that I think that the program was implemented in 2019. They started a pilot program in 2017. And at some point, James Comey, and I'm not trying to give this dude any kind of credit at all. I'm just saying what he said, that, he made a point that was actually true, that nobody knows just how many people are, shot and killed by the police across the country, because the police don't share that data, and they are not required to anywhere in this country. And so the FBI decided, and this was after the public lynching of George Floyd, that, hey, let's start this, let's do a database and collect all this data. And they set the requirements, they set their parameters at at receiving 60% of the data, or data from 60% of the police departments and police officers across the country. So far, they have only received about data that covers 57% of the police departments across the country. And what is this? What does that mean? There are about 18,514 state, local, tribal, and federal police agencies in this country, with about 860,000 cops. That's like an estimate from the FBI, and I don't know why that's an estimate. I mean, the police agency exists or it doesn't, but I'm guessing that maybe they're not including campus police, maybe not school resource officers, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. Housing police, transit police, that type of thing. We have a lot of those in DC, but the reason the FBI may have to close this database with data that only covers like 57% of the law enforcement agencies and police officers across the country is because the GAO, the Government Accounting Office, says that not reaching the required threshold is like a waste of money. And the GAO also said that the Justice Department has been pretty much ignoring the requirement that's included in the 1994 crime bill to acquire data about the use of excessive force by law enforcement officers. And they were supposed to publish an annual summary of the data that they acquired. Nobody's been doing this. I mean, the 1994 crime bill is a horrible, horrible piece of legislation. It did have in the legislation a requirement for the Justice Department to collect data on excessive force from the police departments that were given all this extra money when they hired all these extra cops, and the Justice Department never did it. So now the FBI, well, then in 2019, they said, well, let's see if we can, establish this database to collect some actual use of force statistics. And guess what? Most of the police officers, most of the police departments around the country just don't give the data because there is no requirement for them to. And one of the police departments, one of the police chiefs is or former police chief was quoted in the article as saying that the reason that they didn't comply was that it would take 3 whole new officers. They would have to hire 3 whole new officers to submit this data. And then the FBI countered with, it would take 38 minutes to give us the information that we want. It would not take. So for what it's worth, and I don't know that it's worth a whole lot of anything, if you look at the statistics that the FBI already gets from police departments about crime, the infamous FBI crime statistics database, police departments are really under no obligation to report anything to anybody. So most of them just don't. So it's absolutely true, and I think it will always be true, that we're not going to know just how many people the police across this country, 860,000 police across this country, and that's a conservative estimate. We're never going to know how many cops have been accused of excessive force against citizens and have been involved in extrajudicial killings of citizens and shooting citizens outside of the parameters of the law. Never going to know, because cops don't have to tell anybody, not even the FBI.
Yeah, this is further proof of the police being the biggest gang, because of the fact that, it reminds me of, on a local level, the Civilian Review Board. It's basically showing you how much of a toothless operation the FBI is. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the police, when it comes to these police associations, police unions, or whatever, they're protected. They're plugged, as they say. You know what I mean? So it's like, to a great extent, on the flip side, I'd rather not know how many people are being terrorized because of the fact that it depresses me even more, just with the number that I do know factually, just with those numbers that are reported. And we know that it's a small drop in the bucket when it comes to the number of folks who are terrorized inside of the Black community and the poor and really, I mean, at this stage in the game, I mean, it's like it's whoever they feel like. You know what I'm saying? Because it goes beyond class at this stage because of the fact that, living in a place like Georgia, which is an absolute police state, you know what I mean? They don't care about how much money you have. They don't care about what your status is. You know what I'm saying? All they know is that when they pull you over, whatever they feel like is what's going down. And when you talk about a Gestapo state, this is, I mean, man, I mean, on one side, I hate to use certain terminology because of the fact that I know that there are places like we said, Rwanda and Ethiopia and the Congo, so on and so forth, that are going through situations, different forms of imperialism. But here on a local level, dealing with the state, this is, it is, I mean, I can't even believe that they reported that news. I mean, it's just insane. It's like you had nothing else to say, but look, the police ain't cooperating, so we might have to stop trying. I mean, like, oh.
And the federal government has so many mechanisms and means at hand, right? The carrot and the stick to force schools, local school departments have to turn over information because they receive federal funding, right? Colleges, same thing. Other agencies, the same thing. The reason certain agencies even follow certain federal constitutional guidelines is not even because it's the law, but it's because they're scared of losing funding. And that same a strategy could apply if the FBI so wanted to. So it's not so much even, what you expect out of all of them, it's minimal. But if the agency had any interest whatsoever in really collecting the information, then they would just impede these local agencies from receiving federal funding until they reported this data, which you're right. It's these local police departments, they collect data on everything. If you ask them how many traffic stops they did, that data could be readily available. There's no reason why complaints against the police for brutality and misconduct couldn't be collected in a database and given out if they so chose to do so. But I think you're right. Obviously, they're hiding what's in plain sight, which is the fact that they were brutalizing, falsely arresting, falsely convicting literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Black folks every year. And they just don't want that. They just want that discussion to be had in the public. And they want it to be some sort of mystery thing where they can always just come back to us and try to claim that this is a bad apple thing, as opposed to institutional, which your data would overwhelmingly show that if it was there for us to look at.
I just wish that, as for the civil rights community and the activist community, because I feel like the FBI has already shown us what they are, the Department of Justice have shown us what they are. I just wish when these killings happen that we would stop having people say, okay, well, the state didn't do their job. They didn't see a conviction. Let's go to the Justice Department. And then long, year-long wait where everyone's like, oh, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And then once again, the Justice Department investigated and they have found no wrongdoing, or the FBI has said that their hands are tied. To me, at this point, we should have a clear understanding that there is no overseer of police brutality. There's no overseer of white supremacy. It exists and functions perfectly well without any accountability. So I feel like if we could just stop using the verbiage that they tell us to use, because they just play both sides. They act like they're concerned. And then, of course, whenever it actually comes down to it, they're not going to act. So we should be acting accordingly, to me.
Yeah. And they're doing their job. You know what I'm saying? It's like, with their job is to terrorize, brutalize. We know all that. It's just, I mean, to me, to a great extent, I feel like, to your point, Tyranny, I feel like, it's an excuse for us to not to go any further. You know what I'm saying? It's excuse, it's like empty sloganeering. It's like, look, let's face it, we're beat down. You know what I'm saying? Let's face it, we are tired. We've been abused and just ripped apart. And all we have left is an inkling of pride, just hoping that things would change, hoping that white folks will come to some type of moral moment in time and say, you know what, we have to stop this. You know what I'm saying? Black lives really do matter. You know what I mean? But we know that that's the, yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen. And it's sad because of the fact that we noticed, this has been in effect for what, 4 centuries plus? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the alternatives? How do we change this paradigm? How do we switch this around? How do we flip this? You know what I mean? Do we keep going to the Department of Injustice? Do we keep on filing complaints and hoping that someone gets arrested? Like Kamal said, it's not a bad apple. It's a bad orchard. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about the whole damn the ground that it's grown on from the tree. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's the seeds themselves are corrupt. And it's like we are feeling, I mean, it is a continuation, man. And it's like it's depressing, very depressing. It's like, okay.
Well, let me jump in because I want to do a quick story that ties in to Jackie's story in a way, and with what you were just saying. So I wanted to share this story because not necessarily because I think this is the solution to our issues per se, but it's a very interesting dialogue to have vis-a-vis what the U.S. does to others and what others cannot do to the United States. So Iran has recently threatened sanctions against the United States over its treatment of Black America. Iranian judicial officials said the Islamic Republic is concerned about police brutality against Black people in the United States, citing the murder of George Floyd. And further, the Islamic Republic will publish a list of American entities and individuals involved in human rights abuses. They will then be subject to sanctions from Iran, the official of the Islamic Republic News Agency reported. Now, I know, obviously in theory, this would be great because this is really what we'd be talking about sometimes around international pressure, allies, and so forth. But obviously for Iran, this is more of a gesture to show, that, hey, what should stop other nations from imposing sanctions the same way the United States decides internally to impose sanctions on other nations. And again, supposedly they do so for human rights abuses, but yet no nation state seems strong enough and or has the will because of how the international economic systems are set up. Obviously, the military power of the United States to do the same. But just think about it. If we lived in a world that was either multipolar, that the United States itself could suffer from the same sanctions for its treatment. And I think that's where the story comes to play because as something, if tyranny is allowed to come back on in terms of her child, there's some things happening around the history of the United States. I mean, it has Black people in the United States taking issues from beyond the court system and political system strictly within the U.S. jurisdiction and trying to make folks understand that our human rights issues, just like other people's human rights issues, are international issues, and it should not be confined to U.S. civil law in terms of what outcomes can happen or who has the power to make judgments over what happens here in the United States. So I just think that was an interesting juxtaposition that I know historically speaking we visited a few times, but again, it was just an international tribunal that Jalil Montekin sponsored and some other folks. So it puts us back in the realm of talking about us as a people, thinking about ourselves internationally. And again, that may not be the whole answer to our issue, but broadening out the particular issues that we face here in the United States and making it more of an international thing again, as opposed to strictly relying on some U.S. jurisdiction to solve our problems.
I love that Iran did this though, because even though we know it's not going to do much, it does bring the question of what are sanctions for? Are they for justice? Are they for the people who are oppressed? Why are they used only in specific situations. There's countries that have a long list of human rights atrocities. I mean, we're in the United States, obviously, but those countries are never subject to sanctions. It's always a political maneuver. And so if everyone was so appalled by George Floyd and across the world, the whole world acted like they were, then why won't you all move accordingly if sanctions are about protecting people? So I think that that's, an important move. And, to speak on what Kamal was talking about. So, a number of African-led organizations were trying to really raise the awareness that these are international issues that we're facing, because if we are confining ourselves to our governments, then we are robbing ourselves really of a unified struggle. And a unified struggle is important when you consider the fact that we're facing the same globalist system. I mean, it may look different in different localities, but at the end of the day, the same aims are achieved. Just like Marcus Garvey said, wherever you go in the world, African people are suffering the same. So Friday, we'll be announcing Africa Unity Movement for Decolonization. This is the 70th anniversary of We Charge Genocide, and I'm sure we're all aware of that monumental moment in our history. And we want to charge the colonial system with colonialism and talk about the fact that we're all facing a system, African people, wherever you are, whether you're in the US or on the African continent. And so we have to come together to demand that this system be dismantled and work together collectively as different African movements, that we're not being holden to our specific jurisdiction, but that we're understanding that this struggle it has to be fought collectively. There's no other choice. I mean, we've seen this. Pan-Africanism is a response to Pan-Europeanism, and Pan-Europeanism is always in effect, whether it's NATO, whether it's the United Nations. And so until we understand Pan-Africanism, it's going to have to be what we turn to liberate ourselves. We're just going to be continuing to fight these fractured movements that we're trying to build.
And I just like to add on real quick that the same thing that we're expecting from these other countries around the world, they expect of us. You know what I'm saying? I think that, in our arrogance, we feel like we have a monopoly on suffering. You understand what I'm saying? When for centuries, a number of different regions and countries have been suffering, and we've been silent because of the fact that we lack political education, we lack historical education, we lack geographical location. We don't know what's going on in so many different places. You know what I mean? So while we are, quote unquote, complaining about being murdered in the street by police here, there are kidnappings, murders, and assassinations taking place all over the continent, all over the Caribbean, all over the world. And many of us are silent because of the fact that we're caught up in the fires that are taking place in our community, which is a necessary fight. But the same way we expect the rest of the world to respond to these atrocities, we have to respond to the atrocities around the globe. And that's why, like you said, Pan-Africanism is a must, because of the fact that if not, we'll all be caught up waiting for a savior, and no one will be returning fire against this imperialist beast. So that's just, we have to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that it's very true that Iran cannot impose any sanctions on the U.S. government that would actually result in the U.S. government losing a dime. I mean, that's not that Iran doesn't have that kind of power. No country on earth, I don't think, has that kind of power, except maybe China, perhaps. And it would be dope if China followed suit and every other non-imperialist, anti-imperialist country in the world followed suit, because the symbolism is important, because it does send the message to the imperial power of the US government that they can no longer act with impunity against the oppressed colonists in this country, which are us, without any response from the international community. And to Kalanji's point, when we reciprocate with understanding and calling out the connection to our struggle and the struggle of people who are subjected to U.S. imperialism around the world, then those governments, they also realize that they have allies here, and the U.S. government also understands. Okay, wait, we can't continue to operate the way we have around the world without a serious, coordinated response from not just folks who we target around the world, but people here. So that's the kind of movement we have to build. And although I feel like this is I mean, of course, this is a symbolic measure from the Iranian government, but it's an important measure, an important symbol for solidarity. It is a symbol of solidarity, absolutely symbolic, not going to result in anything negative in regard to the United States government. But the message wasn't really sent, I don't think, to the United States government. That message was sent to us, and for me, I receive it, thankfully from our comrades in Iran, who we have to continue to fight for against U.S. imperialism. So, I hope China and other countries follow suit.
Yeah, if nothing else, but go ahead.
Sorry, I adding that China is, I remember reading earlier this year, they are working on a report of the human rights atrocities of the United States to be released. So I'm very curious to read that.
Yeah. I mean, even as a symbolic gesture, you know what I'm saying? Even a morale boost, it's good, and hopefully, like you said, folks do follow suit and understand the role that the West is playing in oppression internationally. And I think that more countries on the continent would probably step up if there wasn't so many different Western-backed terrorists and terrorist squads out there maintaining the domination over them, because of the fact that I think that we look at it from such a narrow scope. And I think it's a beautiful thing what's going on in Ethiopia right now, because it seems to me for the first time you have a number of different Ethiopians who are looking to unite internationally with other Africans. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of seemed to me, and I could be wrong, but for a while it kind of seemed like Ethiopia and different countries, different regions were kind of to themselves. But right now, one thing with imperialism, they will force you. These imperialist forces are closing in on you. They will force you to seek out other comrades, to seek out other allies. You know what I mean? So I think that Pan-Africanism is going to come into it's going to be a real thing and an effective and impactful thing, because of the fact that, it's not too many more places you can go. It's like with these gatekeepers here in the States, they have so many places they could run and so many places they can hide, but things are being mushed together at such a rapid rate and such a rapid pace. You're going to have to decide, and you're going to have to identify what side of the barricade you're on. There will be no more room for the Roland Martins and whatnot in another 10, 15 years.
And let's remember, I mean, that, there was a history of, including Ethiopia, has a strong history of Pan-Africanism. And, the partial rights that we have in this country had a lot to do with the fact that the so-called civil rights movement here coincided a lot with African liberation movements and decolonization movements happening around the world, which did put pressure on the United States, and vis-a-vis people in the United States put pressure on the United States itself for its imperialism and its acts around the world. And it was partly those that uprising, and remember, obviously, in terms of our right before most of our lifetime, Malcolm was on that world tour of talking to nations again, bringing back up the idea of charging genocide, but talking to African nations again about bringing the United States up on charges. People talking about the United States in international bodies. So that was far more prevalent in the 50s and 60s. And then, much like our movement here, a lot of the international liberation movements were destroyed and imperialism reasserted itself to what we have now. And I agree, like there is, again, I mean, I think this has been happening over a couple of decades, but there's a new resilience of freedom fighters and socialist countries, or countries turning to socialism, talking about imperialism, which is coming to fore. And again, the question is whether or not, in terms of dialectics, the timing is correct. The countries are hooking up with each other. There's enough pressure internally within the United States to make this something that is, in terms of these Iranian gestures, something that is foreshadowing, hopefully, some larger movement in the future.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear that, we're not sitting here, cheering sanctions. Sanctions are a weapon of war, right? So, when used by the United States against countries like Iran and Venezuela and Cuba and Zimbabwe, and sanctions hurt. Um, uh, as much as the United States likes to claim that it imposes targeted sanctions on individual people and maybe business and government entities, sanctions as the U.S. imposes them actually hurts working class and poor people. So we're not sitting here saying, "Yay, Iran imposed sanctions on the United States," because if Iran actually could impose sanctions on the United States, then who would be hurt? We would be hurt. But Iran did this because, number one, it knows that it's the United States. If the United States government makes any kind of statement at all about this move, it would probably be along the lines of, why would Iran? We reject Iran issuing these baseless and arbitrary sanctions. And then that would raise the question of, well, if when Iran says they're going to issue sanctions and they're baseless and arbitrary, why are the sanctions that the U.S. government imposes any different? Right? So that raises that question. So it puts the United States government in a position where they have to respond to sanctions that the U.S. government uses all the time to collectively punish governments and people that they don't like. Right? So that's one thing. So that's why I don't think the U.S. government is going to respond to this. And again, this was done by Iran that has no ability to impose or actually carry through with any sanctions against the United States government as a strategy to call out the U.S.'s hypocrisy on this particular issue. And I think as a symbol, a gesture of international solidarity with the people that they pointed out in what they did. So yeah, the whole sanctions thing, we're not like, yay, sanctions. No. We're talking about I'm celebrating the political strategy that Iran is using, because I swear if we could sanction the 1% and not hurt a soul, yes, do that. But
I
we
was
know
going to
that's
say,
not how they work.
Yeah,
I'm a little targeted. I'm not mad at some targeted sanctions. I mean, I'd rather have obviously a break from. I think a stronger rebuke would be if these other nation states would be able to break from the U.S. international economic order, i.e., creating another currency outside the dollar that's considered the international standard, or a collection of currencies, which is something I think at one point Brazil, Russia, South Africa, China, and India were working on, but it's never come to a conclusion because I'm sure the West has stepped in. Other international lending agencies besides the IMF and World Bank. I think those things are also other measures in terms of international work that could be done that lessens the grip of Western imperialism. But I'm not mad at some sanctions targeted to U.S. companies and U.S. businesses. I'm not mad at sanctions that target U.S. Elected officials in terms of travel and banking. I'm not mad at them sanctions, and if sanctions causes discard in the United States, which it gives us more room to operate for our liberation, I'm not mad at them sanctions either.
I'll go the other way then and say I'm actually not mad at sanctions at all coming from colonized and African countries towards imperialist countries. One thing I always think about and wonder, if Africa does unite and demand reparations from the West, and the U.S. obviously is a part of the West. I think that our standard of living in the United States is probably going to be very harmed, even us Africans, because if we're being honest, a lot of us, if you consider our lives right now in comparison to many of our brothers and sisters on the continent, many of us are living like great lives in comparison. And a lot of that is only because of our proximity to this empire. Same thing in the UK and other places. I think that if Africa does demand reparations and sanction the West till they actually bow to their knees, I personally not go. I'm like, listen, all of the stuff, the Congo, like all of the cobalt that's taken, and all of these companies, and I understand that this would have a very negative effect on the economy and possibly us, but I think that's something that we should talk about in collaboration with our brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora and the continent to strategize for some type of way that we will be able to unite with them and not necessarily be the target of any types of actions like that.
Yeah, I think that's a sticky subject for me, because I mean, the thing is, we are already living under sanctions imposed on us by this U.S. government, right? Like the black tax that we always laugh about, that things cost more money for black folks. We pay more for insurance, we pay more for health care, health insurance. We're still subjected to racial discrimination in housing. We have a degree from university. We get paid less money for the same job with the same degree with the same amount of experience than a white person. Less likely to get called back for a job than a white person who dropped out of high school. You understand what I'm saying? And here we are with a college degree. So our economic situation is the most dire of every group of people in this country, with the exception, I think, of indigenous people. And I mean, those are all government imposed conditions that were created for us, to target us. So I look at those as sanctions, and I don't want to. I do believe that the imperialist nations owe the oppressed nations of the world every damn dime, and some more. And I absolutely understand that the ruling class will fight tooth and nail to keep that from happening, and they will make us pay if they do have to do it, and say, well, see, this is why we couldn't do it, because now it just makes life worse for you. So that is why I am opposed to the idea of using that as a tactic, because that's going to happen anyway. You feel what I'm saying? That's like, in this struggle, where if we do get to the point where we finally get them to some of these colonial nations to get up off the loot, that trickle down pain is going to happen anyway. So I would rather that we not use that as a tactic in our struggle, understanding that that's the way the ruling class is going to respond to recoup the losses for having to pay what they owe. So that's, I don't know if that made sense. I tried to explain that in a way that makes sense.
No, it makes sense
in my head, and coming out, I'm not sure where it went, but I hope it was kind of
it made sense. My only disagreement is that I feel like if we're talking about a liberation struggle, then the pain suffered, there's going to be pain. We're already suffering pain. If we're reaching a point in a liberation struggle where countries internationally are bonding together to sanction the United States of America, we've reached a high point. We've reached a new degree of a liberation struggle, which gives us openings. And so I'm not worried about the economy at that stage. At that stage, I don't think I'm worried about whether or not my grocery bills are going up, because at that stage, my assumption is we're full blown in another orbit of a liberation struggle. So at that, things are not operating the same anymore if the United States is in a position to be hurt by other nation states by being sanctioned because of their human rights violations us as a people and others. So I understand the pain that can cause, but those paradigms of talking about how some people how the population receives the pain and the government gets to go on, that may be good for now. But if something is happening where there's international sanctions which are going to have an impact on this country, that means that Western capitalism is being challenged in a way it has never been. So for me, that thinking it like that I'm not talking about the way sanctions are operated now, or the idea that the West has used sanctions for ABC. If we're bringing down the West, if we're bringing down capitalist economies and white supremacy, then there has to be ways in which there are pressure points that they suffer from. And if we're reaching a point where that's one of the pressure points, we've reached a whole new level of struggle.
And that's to your point, man. And that's the part folks don't want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, if we're going to be honest and we're going to be true to it, it's going to be discomfort. It's going to be bloodshed. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that we already know that these warmongers, they obtained and received these resources and these bodies by force, by bloodshed, by terror. You know what I mean? So the thing is, what many folks who organize talk about is, how does it look after we win? You understand what I'm saying? See, the thing is, there's such a fear in dealing with this culprit. There's such a fear because of the fact that it sounds good, so we try to theorize ourselves out of why this can't work, why that can't work. It's going to be uncomfortable. Ultimately, it's going to be uncomfortable for whoever's brave enough and whoever's bad enough to stand up and say, I'm tired of this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It has to be changed. It has to be changed with your hands. But we don't want to talk about that because of the fact, of course, we're still living in a particular colony that is totally controlled. So, of course, we got to be careful what we say, careful how we move, careful how we walk, careful how we talk. But the reality is, if we're talking about making these changes, like Kamal said, none of that shit matters at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? How do you take back the land? It's not going to be an agreement. We already see the agreements that they break all the time. There's no going to be any treaties that they're going to respect. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, it's going to have to be fisticuffs. It's going to have to be blades, searing bullets, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But it's not. We're not going to be able to talk our way out of this. So the thing is, sometimes we get so caught up in theory that we lack practice. You understand what I'm saying? And we set up barriers ourselves. Well, this ain't gonna work because that, and that ain't gonna work because this. And if you do this, this gonna happen. Well, tell us what the hell we need to do. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, the only thing that is seen to work when dealing with your enemy is dealing with them head on. Now, that's not to say that ain't no tough guy shit. It's just the reality of how this thing's going to go. We're not going to pray our way out of it. We're not going to write our way out of it. We're not going to socialize our way out of it. We're not going to, you know what I'm saying? None of that shit's going to work. And until we get to that particular moment in time, you know what I'm saying? As intelligent as we are, because we got all the theories in the world. We got all the reasoning in the world. We got all the science in the world. But when it comes to really getting down with the get down, then that's where we fall short. And that's why we're dealt with the way we're dealt with.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the fact that, we can have this conversation and expose the different realities of something like sanctions and not entirely disagree, and not entirely agree on the topic, but do understand that look, it's all going to be painful. It's going to be painful. That this is I think the thing that we always come away, that I always come away with when I have these discussions with y'all, where we might not always agree on the how, is that we all recognize that this is going to be a struggle. Ain't none of this going to be pretty. This going to be hard. And it's easy to have these conversations, sitting online, in the morning with a cup of coffee in our comfortable homes, but it ain't gonna be like this every day. It ain't gonna be like this all the time. And there will come a time when I absolutely agree with Kalanji. You are going to have to decide. We are all going to have to decide which side of the barricade we are on. And that really is the ultimate thing I think that we need to be clear on. We can, the sanctions thing, that'll work out how it works out. That's not even something we can actually control, but we should understand it. But ultimately, when the shit hits the fan in this country, and it will way sooner than we think, yeah, we are going to have to decide which side of the barricade we're on, and no amount of theory, I don't think, is going to help us at that point.
With that being said, Tierney, thank you for joining us this morning. We know that you have some things to do. We know the ear doctor got some things that he got to do, and we're gonna be right back at you. And let there be peace.
A jacket.
What?
Hey, it's time to give a blosker. So that's what it's time to do. So I'm gonna give a blosker out. So find out who's gonna be. Stick around right here on the Remix Morning Show. All right. Yeah. Oh, please take that guy's face off the screen. All right, welcome out everybody once again to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and at this time, we like to make sure we give our props out to some people who haven't got their accolades by others. So we like to make sure right here at Black Power Media we give out our roses, our props due to those that didn't get them. So with that said, I want to give a big shout out and start it off with no other than who I'm going to give it to. Garrett Morris. That's right. Garrett Morris, you know him. Have you seen him? He is an American comedian, actor, and singer. Born in 1937. That's right. He was a part of the original sketch comedy Saturday Night Live that came on in 1975 to 1980. He also was on the Jeffersons. You might have seen him as Uncle Junior for the Jamie Foxx show. He was also in Two Broke Girls and also played Stan Winters and Martin. And he also was on Cooley High, one of the greatest movies ever. In case you didn't know, he has been pretty much doing this for a while. He's from Louisiana, New Orleans, very poverty-stricken spot there, where he pretty much got on. And he went to, with his singing, he went to Juilliard School of Music, graduated from Dillard, and he was down with the Belafonte folk singers. Now, check this out. Now, he was also on Broadway, did plays like Hallelujah Baby, Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death, and he worked alongside Mary Baraka, Sun Ra, and Sonia Sanchez at the Black Arts Theater School in Harlem. Now, the funny thing about that is that they will always get raided by the New York City police and the FBI. So, yeah, he was pretty much down with them going through that. He's done over 33 movies. He's also done over 50 television shows. So, as I said, he's been doing this thing for a while, all the way back to when it coming with the greats. And they say pretty much if it wasn't for him, it would be no Eddie Murphy, because they pretty much stereotyped him. He didn't like his time at Saturday Night Live. So they pretty much put him down and stereotyped him and have him doing the same black comedy. And when Eddie Murphy got there, he's like, y'all are not about to Garrett Morris me. So thank you, Garrett Morris, for doing your thing, allowing there to be space for others to come right behind you and do their thing. Big up. And here at Black Power Media, we present this blosker to you. That's what it is. Now let's get back to the Remix Morning Show, y'all. All right. Yeah.
I like Garrett.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Garrett.
He's never the funniest dude in the world, but I liked him.
Yeah, he gets his props. I mean, on that Martin, he definitely played that role for a while and did his thing. I didn't know he was in Car Wash. He's been in so many different movies, and I didn't know he was one of the first original people on Saturday Night Live. So that was.
But you're right; they did pigeonhole him. He didn't get the type of scenes or be able to like to sort of display his talent. He was always, and back in the 70s, he was always that second banana dude, and that's the straight dude that they played off of for jokes and stuff like that. But he never got what, So I agree. I got no pictures to show either.
Right. Well, that's what it is. That's what it is right now. Blaska for that, brother. I catch y'all next break.
Peace.
No doubt. Remix Morning
What's going
Show.
on
It's a
with the
wonderful
light
day
in
in the
here?
neighborhood.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Lights.
I don't know what's happening in here. It's really dark.
I
Maybe
don't
it's
know,
my
man.
soul. My soul
soul?
exuding
Damn.
around me. Maybe my soul
Ooh.
is very dark and it's
Okay.
I don't think
All
that's
right.
the case.
I don't know.
I was like,
I
I
don't
spent some
know.
blood to drip from the walls on that one. Smooth. I was like,
I don't know, man. Y'all talking kind of rugged this morning. Shout out to all the remixers out there. Shout out to all our supporters out there. Shout out to all the folks out there who are trying to live their life day to day and making an effort here in this world. I want to point out that none of us have all the answers, and it's an experience here on this planet. You know what I'm saying? And I'm hoping that we make the best out of our time here, because of the fact that, unfortunately, we have some folks that will literally suck our souls from our bodies if we allow it. You know what I'm saying? So we have to make every effort in this life to spread love and be about peace. But unfortunately, sometimes in our quest for peace, you gotta literally go to war. So, it's just my 2 cents. But anyway, what other kind of news we got going on today? Anybody want to hop in? Anything special?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure we talk about this story out of the Midwest with these tornadoes and in Kentucky, and this factory in particular, this Mayfield Consumer Products candle factory. Uh, at least I think it's 8 workers died. Yeah, at least 8 people died in the factory because their bosses threatened to fire them if they left their job, if they left the factory, even as the tornado sirens were blaring in the town. And, the meteorologists were, talking about, look, this tornado is coming. So, yeah. Um, and I think there was an Amazon factory in the same area where people died because they were working in the middle of a damn tornado. So this is the kind of stuff, and I hope we'll talk about this tomorrow. This just happens to be embedded in this video. That there's something new in Chauvin's case, but when we talk about how capitalism kills and how um, the working class and poor are exploited literally to death by capitalists, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. I mean, and this is like, okay, an extreme case, but when you think about it, all of the strikes that are going on across this country, Kellogg's, Frito-Lay, the strike that happened at John Deere, all of these strikes were about workers demanding better pay, shorter hours, because they were forced to work long hours, not getting paid overtime for. The hours were mandatory in unsafe conditions. And it's these kinds of labor struggles that people have been rising up to fight all throughout the summer and all, throughout October. People are calling it Striketober and November. And this is where it leads, where management says to people, it is more important for you to stay here on the line and make these damn candles than to go home and be safe in the face of a tornado. So 8 people died because people stayed because they were threatened that if they left, they would lose their jobs. That's the choice people were given: lose your job or lose your life. And some people did lose their lives. So it's just yet another example, but I think probably one of the worst ones, of how capitalism absolutely does kill. This is the nature of capitalism. So I mean, this when we see stories about workers striking anywhere for anything, we need to stand behind workers and support striking workers and never ever cross a picket line for any fucking reason.
Yeah, I think it's called wage. When we refer to it as wage slavery for a reason, because the conditions that are imposed are just that. You feel like if you walk out, your whole livelihood is taken away from you, and whatever little livelihood you have at that particular point. Because you're right, a candle maker, I'm sure, it's not breaking off on the bread tip. So whatever little they need to sustain themselves is wrapped up into making those candles, and that is threatened, right? And obviously, like we've been talking, I'm sure there's no health insurance waiting for them if that gets taken away. There's no guaranteed minimum salary that's going to be given to them, or that's get taken away. They're not going to be able to file for unemployment because they're going to be called like that they quit as opposed to being fired. So all that kind of stuff weighs into these decisions that people have to make. And you're right, they take their chance, and ultimately, what happens in the end is that because the managers, right, the owners, decided that it was far more important to make some scented candles or whatever they were making than to worry about these people getting home to their family, to their loved ones, that they're safe. That's the condition of the world we live in. That's based. Yeah, it's the most harshest, most direct aspect of how capitalism works. But day to day, people make those same choices all the time around keeping jobs, leaving jobs, the type of conditions they work under, what's threatened upon them for even challenging those work conditions. And this is one of the outcomes of when that happens.
I want to point out also that you mentioned the Amazon factory that was in Illinois, and 6 people lost their lives there. And I know that it's crazy because of the fact that while this tornado is taking place, Jeff Bezos is tweeting pictures of their latest space trip. You know what I'm saying? So while people are dying, so they decided Amazon's going to donate $1 million to that particular area, whatever. Now we're talking about $1 million coming from a company owned by Jeff Bezos, who is probably the second richest man in America, the second as far as being billionaire status, whatever. And it's insanity right now because of the fact that it's showing you what they think about you. This is a like you just said, Kamal, as far as the whole wage slave situation. This is another form of slavery. Everything we talked about, from the prison system to the medical system to just just capitalism as a whole, is just like an incredible beast. And it's crazy we don't realize its potential or its power until you're actually being grinded between its teeth. Here the folks at the Amazon facility, they were told to take cover. Many folks went to the bathrooms, like we were taught in our different survival classes, whatever, to be in a safe place. But unfortunately, the building was not strong enough to withstand what was going on. So some folks literally died in the bathroom as they took cover. So I understand close to 100 people or more perished from that particular tornado in the Midwest. So heart goes out to the families who lost loved ones in those tragic situations. But I just want to say, look, go ahead, just real quick. If your job requires you to risk your life and you don't really have to, look, man, step away. Go ahead, come on. I'm sorry about that.
Now I was going to, quickly add on that this is, and most likely, I don't know how big this company is. The bigger the company, the less there will be any real retribution or justice enacted, right? So, a candle company may not be that huge, but if we take the Amazon example, at best, what's going to happen is that somebody's going to pay some fines, right? That's what they consider sort of evening out the playing field. Someone's going to pay some fines. Those fines are going to be somehow claimed to represent some sort of justice. Obviously the families will get to sue in this particular case, won't bring back the loved ones. But again, a candle company, I can't think that the resources of a company of that size, and I just don't know. It's probably going to go into bankruptcy, which means the families will probably never really get paid out any significant amount, depending on what the insurance is. So, again, time and time again, protecting business, having situations where businesses can get out of debt, having situations where businesses can pay off people or government entities as opposed to suffering real consequences. All of that tells us how the scales are tipped on the side of these large corporations to do what they want to do, while the rest of us are sort of at their beck and call, and we're considered either we're the upfront labor, or a lot of times, like in our community, we're excess labor. And excess labor has to sit on their ass and wait until jobs open up, or excess labor is arrested, jailed, and imprisoned, and worked and made to work at these penal institutions. So this situation that we're experiencing, which is in which these capitalist billionaires and others control the basic economy of how the world works. So like we said, like we talk about, 1% of the population controls how literally billions of people spend their lives on this planet.
Sad thing about it is, here it is, this candle factory. Chances are that some of these people who worked in those candles, some of those candles will be used for their vigils now. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
What a jacked up world we live in. Anyway, we know the great ear doctor has a guest coming on board. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna be. What's going on, man? He couldn't wait to get on the screen. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I just creep in. You know how y'all, long-winded a little bit.
Say what?
Oh, did I say that? My bad. Anyway, I got a guest coming on, so let's get to it. We're gonna talk about some business and art spotlight. Let's get it.
No doubt. Miss Dia, what up?
Yeah.
Remix morning.
Renegade. I said Renegade. Remix.
Flashback.
Yeah. Welcome out, y'all. Once again, welcome out. This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And right now we want to do a business art spotlight. And we're talking about people that's actually putting together some dope stuff that y'all need to know about. So I was like, let me call up one of my homegirls, my sister. Y'all might have seen her when we did the recap of the verses. We have done a radio show together, and she's come on Renegade Culture. She's just dope. Let me introduce y'all to Pretty Dope Dia. Pretty Dope Dia, what's good?
Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Listen, I had to bring you on here because I know you make some very dope stuff. So just let people know what you're doing with your arts.
All right. So hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And I so some years ago, almost 20 years ago, I ain't gonna front, I saw a cigar box purse that had Marilyn Monroe on it, and it kind of like blew my mind. Then I decided, I was like, well, let me try to make one. And of course now I'll put Marilyn on it, but at the time, of course, I was like, well, let me make one, but let me put us on it. So the first one I did an image of Billie Holiday. And to see how many people at that time, I was in my, like mid-20s and stuff, to see how many of my peers didn't know who Billie Holiday was. I was like, oh no, so it turned into like a for real assignment. Like, okay, it's your duty now to make sure that you keep our names and our faces and stuff alive and keep them in our face. So I started making these, like I said, almost 20 years ago. I absolutely love them. I tell the ladies, I say, ladies, they're awesome, they're fashionable and all that stuff, but also remember, it's a cigar box. So in the event that you have to get somebody off you, I ain't trying to promote violence or anything, but I'm just saying you can use it also to, to keep you safe.
Hey, let them know. And that right there is what's the sister's name again? Who
Which one on here?
Yeah, who's that again?
So this one has Lena Horne on
Lena
one side,
Horne.
and then on the back it has Billie Holiday.
Nice.
So I have that one. I have another one this is my baby right here. So let me start over
Get
here.
it. Oh,
she has Eartha Kitt,
nice.
Lena Horne, Dorothy Dandridge, and Nina Simone.
Woo.
Yeah, she's a baddie right here.
Nice. So you pretty much educating people at the same time, giving them that dope purses and type stuff to be rocking. So I love it. I love it. You got what's that right there?
So this one here has, the Kings on it. It has Dr. King and Mrs. Coretta Scott.
Word.
And then the back is blinged out. But I really want to show this one really quick if I have the time to.
Yes, you
because
do.
You mentioned, using it to educate people. So I put obviously some popular people on it, but then I also put people on it that I need to make sure that we, what I'm saying, like, you're not gonna go many places and find Dr. Welsing.
That is dope.
And it's so interesting. I've done some pop-ups this last couple of weeks, and her purse is the one that I always bring people to and ask, like, so do you know who this is? And it's, it feels good to be able to, like you say, inform people of some of our lesser known, but very, very, very deserving people that need their flowers too.
I love it. And they could go to your website is Pretty Dope Box. Dope Box.
The website is prettydopeBox.com. And then my Instagram is Pretty Dope Dia, and that's spelled DIA. So if you see one of these and you're interested in it or so, you can feel free to contact me. My website has my contact number, my email, and all that stuff on it as well. I do custom pieces as well, so you can get your family, your loved ones and stuff on one. And then I do like earrings and keychains and all that stuff too.
Nice. Hey, D, I miss doing a radio show with you. We're going to have to do something here on Black Power Media more often. You know what I mean? Thank you for coming through and showing your art. And everybody out there, go ahead and support this sister. She got some dope stuff, especially for this whole holiday, Kwanzaa, all seasons. She got you.
Yes.
So, Dia, thank you for coming through. Catch you next time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you all.
No doubt. Peace out. Let's get it. Back to the Remix Morning Show, y'all. Yeah. Let me take that down right there. Bam. All right. Unmute yourself there, Kamal.
Yeah. I just talked about how I need a cash app for myself, apparently.
What you got to sell?
Nothing.
BS.
Nothing at all.
He has nothing.
Shirts. I got blue shirts, blue jean shirts. That look good back in the daytime.
You know, it's funny. I used to, me and the sister used to work together at a store where I used to actually make cowrie shell necklaces, bracelets, sell oils, incense. I was that guy.
Oh, you were that dude?
I was that dude at the mall. Stop you and be like, yo, have you had some of this new Arabian musk? You should try it. Yep.
You done sold everything. That's the thing. I can't. Every time I speak to you, there's some new business. You made the cowrie shell necklaces and all that stuff.
Yeah, man. I did all that, man. I wasn't playing no games out here. I had to eat. So
I used to pull up on that back in the day. I always had a little cowrie shell medallion. You know what I mean? Sometimes it used to be the one. You would do the one, but then it'd be like the trinkets across. You know what I'm saying? I was looking hot.
You look like the choker type.
I didn't do choker.
There are a couple of ways that could be taken.
My wife is laughing in the background. I just wanted to know that at that joke. She was laughing in the background.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways that could be taken, but it's too early in the morning. I'm gonna behave myself.
Word. But that's what it is, man. I just want to give a spotlight. We got a whole lot of other people out there doing their thing, so we're gonna give them their love, and that's what it is right here, Black Power Media. I'll catch y'all later.
Peace. I do got a story, Jackie.
Yeah,
real quick. And I think this has been going around the internet. So in South Dakota, apparently teachers were involved in a game in which they were scrambling around. And I think they were $1 bills. And the idea was that there was $5,000 that they would grab in order to pay for school supplies for their students. And then the crowd around, of course, is cheering them on because somehow people think this is how funding of schools should go. And with no, I mean, I haven't seen the show, but folks have been talking about the Squid Games and all that kind of crazy stuff. But the fact that people think that this somehow is an acceptable way to fund, or to fund schools, or they don't see the irony in the fact that teachers are literally scrambling on the floor for money. It seems to, I don't want to say it blows my mind, but it seems like there's no irony left in the country. No one's, it's like no one sees this. It's like whoever thought this idea up was not like, this might be slightly demeaning, maybe, but hey, hell, it's entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, and it's wild to me how the teachers went along with it. I think that's the part of that is more disturbing to me. Like at no point did the teachers think, we shouldn't have to be doing this to get school supplies for our classroom. We should not have to. You shouldn't have to make us, reduce ourselves to this spectacle and compete against each other in this spectacle to grab a fistful of cash for money. For why don't you just give us money for supplies to teach your kids? I just and the fact that the teachers went along with it is disturbing to me. It's circulating around the internet and there's outrage, but I don't know. People are just not angry enough at any of this stuff for me right now in life, just in life in general. I don't see how teachers are not just like up in arms, outraged, walking out of class, over this kind of thing being done. And this is the expectation that this is what teachers should be allowed to subject themselves to get the supplies they need to do their job, which is to teach people's kids. That part is wilder to me, I think, than what they actually did.
Yeah, this is America, isn't it? This is America, man. I mean, it's in some schools there are no supplies, or there's supplies that are so old that they're teaching history from the 80s. And then you have other cases like this, and it's just like, wow, man, we're in an all-time low, and it's a the words of Chairman Fred Hampton, man, it's terrible, but it's fine, because of the fact that all of these things have to take place in order for us to get to where we need to go to. You know what I mean? And that's just how I'm seeing it. Like with all of this madness out here, it's like it's all the ingredients that is necessary in order to dismantle capitalism. And it's going to happen because of the fact that, again, they're forcing it. They're going to force us in position. Like they say, a broke clock is right twice a day. We're going to fall right into the peg that we're supposed to fall into, even by accident, in spite of ourselves, in spite of the fact that we're really not interested in responding the way we need to respond. Despite the fact that we're critical of everything, but wanting to bring nothing to the table besides empty rhetoric. So we'll be forced into where we need to be. I guarantee that.
And just really quickly, like even a person whose idea this was, or whoever donated this money, like you couldn't do it in a dignified way of just like, teachers need money, we have these resources. Instead, this spectacle is created, right, which I guess they think is going to generate more resources, and I'm assuming it's backfired on them. Luckily so, where people see just the stupidity of having teachers scramble on the ground for dollars to put money back into schools, back into the classrooms to buy kids their day-to-day needs. So yeah.
And just the willingness of people, and it looked like that was at a hockey game.
Yeah, it looked like that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just what's obscene, is the willingness of people to unquestionably watch the debasement of other people. I mean, because that was just that was a debasement that really was. And I mean, all those people in those stands, most of those folks, I guess, were probably working people too. And not one person got up and said, "This is wrong. This is," and I mean, that's kind of scary. That and it leads me to believe that a lot more. Well, not believe. This is an example, I think, of how people let bad things happen to other people and don't do anything about it. I mean, this was horrible. This was absolutely horrible. And it just nobody stood up and said, "This is wrong." We're in a dark political moment in this country.
Hey man, it's making it rain, brother. Making it rain. That's what it was all about. You know what I'm saying? Tornadoes and making it rain. This is the topics of the day. Anyway, moving right along on that joint. Speaking of school, we was talking earlier about LeBron James's school. What's the name of it? I Promise. And the principal who decided that it was a good thing to slap one of the students because of the fact that they felt that him cursing was out of line. So I'm just gonna slap this 11-year-old because of the fact that that's what we do around here. You know what I'm saying? And what would LeBron do? But anyway, so principal of LeBron James I Promise School. Can you all see the joint on screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. My computer's kind of lagging over here. You know what I'm saying? So the principal of LeBron James I Promise School resigns after allegedly slapping an 11-year-old student in the face. So this is the principal here with a nice "We Are Family" shirt. And she took that family shit literally. She said she gonna just go ahead and slap somebody for cursing. So she said that they said that she actually called the mother of the young boy, the child, and said that he swore he was swearing in her face, and the mother of the victim, they said, so she decided to go ahead and slap the student. The mother of the victim released a statement to the Beacon Journal after the incident, claiming that her son had a busted lip and was bleeding. The student was reportedly wearing a mask over his face when the public school official struck him. According to the victim's mother, back in late September, she received a text message from Davis, the principal, in the afternoon stating that she had slapped her son for using profanity after she approached him and a group of boys about a mess they left in the boys' bathroom. After the incident, the young student's mom said she allegedly asked Davis why would she put her hands on her child, to which the former school principal responded that she just reacted and slapped him. Davis was an educator with the Akron Public School District for more than 20 years and was well respected throughout the community. The mother said, we all looked at her as family. According to the New York Post, LeBron James' I Promise School is currently in its 4th year of operation and was created to help at-risk students in his hometown of Akron, Ohio. So here it is. You say that this is a school designed to assist at-risk students, and the response is the principal slaps this young man because of the fact that he cursed this 11-year-old. That's kind of wild. I taught at a alternative high school, and I know that things could get wild, but I never put my hands on a child. I'm just kind of confused as to how you decide to take it upon yourself to slap this 11-year-old. I mean, that's some, and to call the mother and say that you slapped them. I mean, I couldn't imagine you calling me saying that you slapped my child. Yeah. And I'm just gonna, you're gonna text me that. She didn't even call, she texted. I slapped your child. That's real. I mean, that's so pretty bold.
In a semi-serious way, I understand the anger or the, the frustration we're dealing. Obviously, I think we're all dealing with kids or even adults and wanting to put our hands on folks, right? So that, I'm not, and I do hope that this principal, who seems to be somebody who, was connected to the kids and to the school, gets whatever help she needs, rebounds, and furthers their career. But we are not at a stage where, and I know we celebrate, I should say, a lot of times, even like our own history of like, back in the day, the teacher would hit you or the neighbor would hit you, and then you go home and the parent would hit you and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not, but I think people still think that the reality of the situation, we can't, that's bygone years, so that's the past. And I'm not sure how much it worked back then, but maybe it did somewhat. But you just cannot in this day and age, put your hands on somebody's child and think somehow that you've done God's work or good work, or you've helped improve the situation. And I'm, at some point, I'm sure, obviously, why she resigned, because people have been like, you've obviously crossed the line that can't come back from. So it's a messed up situation. She ain't no choice but to say you can't teach there no more. But I think hopefully she'll get some therapy, some whatever she needs, and she can recover from this, whatever like that. Because I actually, I feel like it sounds to me like it was a one-off incident. It may not be how the whole, something that's like she's got a track record per se, but. Yeah, all that to say, it's disturbing that we still rely on that as a way for disciplining, and we think we're achieving something until somebody calls it to our attention. Like you might have crossed the line on that.
I mean, but not only that. I mean, she had to resign because of the fact that, for one, I mean, LeBron's name is attached to the school. You know what I mean? So you have the name of the biggest athlete back in this particular institution. And this is the person that, quote unquote, in charge of the school. This is the leader of the school itself, and it's so many different angles when you're talking about at-risk youth. You know what I mean? It's just so many different angles. And I'm really shocked that no charges was brought up.
Yeah.
That's the wild thing, because of the fact that
the time ain't run out yet. I wouldn't put it, there's going to be a lawsuit. Yeah. But I wouldn't put it past that, something more may happen. But I don't, I haven't read the story completely, but yeah.
It could, but I mean, damn, September is December right now. I think I probably would have decided that the law wasn't on my side after a while, especially after you slap my son and bust his lip. I mean, that's a hell of a slap. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It ain't like, I can see if you grab the child, look, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you busted the kid's lip with a slap?
Yeah, I mean, like, she's a pretty sizable woman, according to, from the look of the picture, to slap an 11-year-old. I mean, shit, she probably could bust one of our lips with a slap. I'm quite sure,
But I'm really kind of wilded out by this woman who is not just a teacher, but a principal. So I'm assuming she's got some experience.
20 years experience.
Some years.
Right.
How long?
20
years. She's been an educator in some capacity for 20 years. And her first response to an 11-year-old cursing, which is not the most ridiculous thing that an 11-year-old has ever done, is to slap the child so hard that she busts his lip. Now, I mean, I'm not all for, throwing folks in jail. I'm not all for calling the law on folks for, but I just really have to wonder what was going on with her in that moment, or in her life, or whatever, that she felt like that was a reasonable response at that moment. I mean, what that kid said could not have been so horrifically shocking that, first of all, she ain't never heard it before from a kid, and second, that it elicited her to do what she did. That, I mean, with 20 years of educating experience, that's wild to me. And I agree that she should not be teaching anymore. And with that kind of response, look, we're all human. We go through stuff, and we have no idea what she was going through, that day. We don't know what was going through in her life. But I mean, if you're having a bad day and you're around, your job is to mentor and take care of kids, especially at-risk children. Take a sick day, please. Please take a sick day, take care of yourself so you can take better care of your kids. So now this kid, has this traumatic experience with this principal, and is he going to get any counseling? I mean, it just opens up a whole bunch of really uncomfortable questions for me that I just it's just really terrible. This is really a much deeper, I think, situation than like, oh, she lost her mind and slapped this kid.
Right.
This is a whole lot of mess and like you said, Kamal, the whole culture that we grew up with of, getting our ass beat, and we turned out all right. No, we didn't. We did not turn out all right. We didn't.
Right. Yeah. So,
I gotta go to work.
You gotta go to work.
I do.
What you mean?
We got 12 minutes.
Gotta go to work.
Where's Sean at? Sean?
See?
Hold on. Sean got the hoodie. Look at Sean looking like Trayvon. Trey Sean. What's that?
You're not going to share a few words with us? What's going on? What are you turning your head for?
No, man, I'm trying to prepare for this segment. What's happening?
I gotta go to work. Y'all don't pay me.
Hey, Sean, like I'm sick of this shit. Every time I come here, Jackie bootlegging, moonlighting, all that. Anyway,
she went to the ultimate. She said, "Y'all don't pay me."
She did that.
Voice. Goodbye, Jackie. And the voice.
Peace, all right, Jackie, be safe. Salute. Yeah. So man, yeah, I don't know what happened to the what went on with that case. I hope they both get help because of the fact that, I mean, I think we all experienced those moments where you just want to smack the shit out somebody, but you just can't go slapping children, and definitely not slapping nobody else's kids.
Somebody else's kid.
I mean, that's like, man, like what happened? I mean, like it must have been a real bad day for you, man. And then
I wasn't there. I'm not trying to make no excuses for her. I don't know what the situation was. I don't know what the kid said, but there's nothing that said like you're the adult and that's the child. You know what I mean? It's time to walk away. It's time to be like, find some other mechanism to calm it down. But you're like, whatever. And whatever trauma she may experience. So again, like I said, like whatever bad day, whatever's going on in her world. Yeah. She just, it's like one of those, again, the Dave Chappelle skit, when keeping it real goes wrong. She had a moment of keeping it too real. Like this was back in the day or something, or because she's beloved or whatever it is that she thought she could get, because like you said, she thought she could get away with it. And the reason she thought she could get away with it because she actually texted her mama or somebody saying, it wasn't like, I'm sorry, but I laid one on your kid.
Yeah, what? I put my paws on them. What you feel like doing? But and again, from teaching, it's like there's been several occasions where I had to actually snatch kids up, and that was because of the fact that they were, endangering other children or whatever the case is. I mean, some wild things have gone on. I taught in a school where, of course, you had the typical hood situation, drug abuse, children of offspring of addicts, so on and so forth, and just different situations. So yeah, I mean, there was a time I actually had to snatch this student up who was bigger than me. He was a junior right in front of the principal because of the fact that, dude picked up something. He was charging at someone else with it. So it's like, you gotta, there are those, I understand, I get those responses, but it can't be because someone cursed. I mean, like, what, you know what I'm saying? That's just, I mean, that's a little different.
Yeah. Growing my school, we've had the opposite. Actually, we've had both, right? So I remember this was in junior high school. So we probably was like 12 or 13 at the time. My man smacked the teacher, substitute teacher. So like school can be, again, when we're talking about the things that we talk about a lot on this show, people lack of resources, issues at home, like the structure's not there, no control over the institutions ourselves. There's a lot of stuff going on, and when that all gets put up in there, we all got to deal with it as a community. But because we don't get to control these structures, I mean, this may be a little different. LeBron is controlling it or whatever, but for the most part, we don't control these schooling structures. I have no idea what their curriculum is in that school. So it leads to a lot of interplay, which can sometimes not be safe for student and or teacher. So
Right. Well, we hope that everything works out for the child, the family, and that I hope that the principal gets whatever kind of help she needs as well, because of the fact that, again, we don't always know situations as to what's going on. So we look at it like we look at it from whatever amount of information that we got. I see Andy Williams. I'm in the chat room right now. He said Kalonji is being my high school's teacher would have been lit. Yes, it definitely was. You know what I'm saying? I had jokes. Shout out to some of my students. I'm actually bringing some of them online. One of these days we can talk about how things went down. You know what I mean? So I was right in the hood. Shout out to Dunbar Elementary School in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Shout out to
how long you teach for?
Wyndham Academy. I taught for 9 years total.
For 9 years?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. During the 90s. Yes. Could you believe that? Yes.
No, 9. I didn't know it was 9 years.
Actually, yes. And I started I taught different levels. I taught everything from 9 through 12. My first joint was actually, I was a supervisor of preschool. And from there, I taught 7th and 8th grade. It's crazy because I run into some of my 7th and 8th graders now. Of course, that was going back in the 90s or whatever. So they all grown and whatnot.
They're in their 30s and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But, I miss that sometime. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that, it was, I utilized the school. I started a program called Hip Hop University back in 99. And one of the things that I was able to do was teach the children about revolution through music. You know what I mean? So I had budgets to teach these kids about hip hop and about music and culture. So I'm like, okay, let me teach you about Tupac. Let me teach you about Bob Marley. Let me teach you about Dead Prez. You know what I mean? And, before long, we talking about revolution. A lot of youth. Huh?
No, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say a lot of the youth at the alternative high school I worked at, you had 11th graders who literally were functionally illiterate. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I taught a lot of them, got them involved in reading through Iceberg Slim books, Donald Goins books, and then from Donald Goins and Iceberg Slim, Spook was Set by the Door, and then on and on from there.
Damn, I mean? So, you brought back Donald Goins books.
Man, listen, the thing is, it was like the particular town I was in when I was at this alternative high school was a rehab town. So you had all types of children of heroin addicts, so on and so forth. So the only way I knew that I could reach them is by, things that they knew. You know what I mean?
I mean, I was part of my, some of the first literature that I remember reading as, kids like 18, 19, whatever, 17, 18, 19, whatever, were like Donald, and they were, that was like the ghetto Bible, like, everybody, what's that next one is out? What's that next one's out? No doubt. Titillating literature, street shit, all that kind of stuff. It was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I was gonna say quickly, I almost taught. I was going to be a substitute teacher for like, I guess I might have finished college and. But the thing that kept me away from it is that they would call me at like 7 o'clock in the morning, like 6:30 in the morning, and I get a phone call and be like, oh, like, you signed up and all that stuff. It's like, oh, we need you to be at such and such school in like an hour and a half. I was like, what?
Oh, okay.
I'm like, oh, no, I can't do it today. It happened like 3 times, and I was like, no, take me off the list. I was just like, I need to get off that list.
He's like, you're not even dealing with it, huh?
No. I was a failure. I was a failure at substitute teaching. I could not be motivated to be like. It's like, what? Where you need me to be? What? In how long? It's like, that's not gonna work for me. So
that's crazy.
So shout out to all the teachers, and particularly the ones that do their job and do their work, and the substitutes, because that's a hard life to live when you're doing that kind of work, and you got these temporary assignments, and you're trying to get in, get a regular gig and everything. So
paraprofessionals, all that. You know what I mean? Shout out to all those folks out there that's putting that work in, making an effort, especially during these times right here, man. You know what I mean? Especially during these times. But anyway, is the ear doctor still with us? He got anything he popping with? Or we just gonna ride on out to the sun?
Ride on out, son. Hey, bring the ear doctor up.
Okay.
Ear doctor
act like he ain't part of the gang. I know Jared somewhere lurking. You know what I'm saying? Act like he don't want to hang with us.
Hey, I used to substitute teach too, man. It was cool. It was cool, but this one girl came by and was like, "Hey, Mr. Batts," and touched my face. I was like, "I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here."
Glad you left, brother.
Because they don't play high school girls. They don't play that. That and like that early morning. Yo, we need you to be here. That was dead. But I also got while I was substitute teaching one time, the cops came and got me out of class. Oh my!
For what?
Why did I bring him on?
Yo, I was in class teaching, and they came and got me out of class because I hopped the turnstile. I'm like, really?
They followed you all the way to the school while you in that.
I ain't go to court for hopping the turnstile. So they came in and was like, "Yo, we got a warrant for you."
Oh, it was a bench warrant. Really? You made it sound like they followed you from the subway. You had a bench warrant. But they still shouldn't be coming into the classroom. That's
what I'm saying. I'm in the middle of teaching.
Disrespectful. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, but ain't nothing like teaching. Both my parents was teachers. I actually got to teach hip hop. Also, the kids online. So it's a beautiful thing. I love teaching. With that said,
I'm sorry, wait a minute. No. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. So they handcuffed you in the classroom too, or they just
they waited until I got into the principal's office. They brought me to the principal's office and handcuffed me and took me.
You got brought to the principal's office.
Yo, you know the sad thing about it is
it happened to you too.
Did they tell you what they was arresting you for? Or they just slapped the cuffs on you.
Man, they waited. They just was like, "We have a warrant for your arrest." I was like, "For what?" And you know what? I had the token in my pocket, but you be trying to run and catch the train before it go. So I was like, and you know, people be leaving a little gate open, so I just ran through, and they was like, "Nah, bro.
Why don't you show up at court?" I mean, we all jumped. I jumped. But then you get a little.
Because there was some bullshit, and I wasn't about to wait. Yo, how you gonna have a job and then you gotta leave a job you got to go to court? I was like, man, listen, don't get me started.
Did you end up going to court for it anyway?
Man, I wound up going after all that happened to pay some damn.
Did you lose the job or you kept the job?
Yeah.
Take a wild guess.
They wouldn't hire me after that.
They didn't hire you back.
Hey, I had like 2 or 3 jobs in my life, so fuck it. Anyway, that is the Remix Morning Show for the day, y'all. I would give y'all a mix, but y'all gotta come back tomorrow and get a mix. So please make sure y'all back tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Real quick.
That's right.
Not tomorrow, tonight, 4 p.m.
Okay.
We will have Riot Starter TV. Like I said, we're dealing with Rwanda today. So please make sure that you stop through and check us out 4 p.m. We have some survivors from the genocide in Rwanda, and they're going to tell you about some of their political prisoners over there, some of the folks that are being kidnapped right now, and some of the people who are being tortured to this very day and have been disappeared. So definitely check us out 4 p.m. today. We on it, y'all. Remix Morning Show.
Yep. Peace out.